Good evening. I am Camille Nash, and welcome to the Bullpen. So, here in the Bullpen, we talk everything media, ministry, money, and the marketplace. So, if you've been on this journey with me for any length of time, you know that I have this affinity for whales. And I'd love to tell you that it was birthed out of this tremendous story where you can hear the violins playing, but no, it was actually birthed out of my own experience of overcoming. And that is why I built this place. I've been in so many different rooms over the last several years, whether it be media, social media rooms, courtrooms, boardrooms. And I really just got tired of hearing men attempt to tell women how to live their lives and women attempting to tell men how to live their lives. So I thought, why not create a space where I could bring men in, because the bull is the actual male of the whale. You get it? Bullpen. And here in the bullpen, we're just going to talk straight. So today we are continuing on this message, or in this series, around Black excellence and the power of Black excellence. Today, I want to talk about how to overcome breaking the poverty mindset. If you're a person that is not only of faith, but you're a person that is of color, you may have some old dogma or some old downloads within you that may need to be uprooted and changed. So today, I really want to talk about what it looks like to change and shift the poverty mindset. So tonight we're going to invite to the platform a gentleman that I met quite some time ago. I live here in Arizona, and he's turning up the volume here in Arizona in politics, amongst other things. He's got a long history of sports, and I know that he's going to be able to share and shed some light on what it looks like to start in a place where maybe it might have been boom and bloom, but maybe not in the most favorable position, yet he knows what it takes to actually pull yourself up. And so I want to take a moment and introduce to some and present to others, that in the form of Onesimus Strachan.
Hello, 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 hello. How are you today?
Onesimus, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I'm not complaining. I'm a man of God, so I
Yeah.
walk faithfully.
Well, first thing I want to do before we even go any further is, your last name is Strachan, right?
We pronounce it Strawn, is a Scottish name, and
Ah,
it could go Strahan or Strawn,
okay.
like drawn.
I want to make sure and keep it really real for the audience, because we are in the bullpen. So I did say it right. You all don't think I can't read. I knew what I was doing. So I just wanted to make sure we clear that. But listen, I am really excited about having you. And I know that you have, like I said in the intro, turning up the volume in so many different places. And I really just want to talk tonight about a little bit about you and, what your journey has been like. But before we get into that, what's happening in your world right now that's kind of maybe got you on edge, or giving you, causing you to have that raised eyebrow?
Well, there's quite a bit, and the most troubling thing is certainly family.
Yeah.
You cannot sleep well, function well, operate well if family is not well.
Yeah.
So, like everyone else is experiencing difficulties in family situations, I too am impacted by it, no matter how thoughtful you are, how
Yeah.
prepared you are to pretty much take care of family. Things arise that is unexpected, that would throw you a curveball, so to speak.
Absolutely.
And you can't, you will be impacted by it, but you can't let that divert you from all the other things that's needing to be done.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I try to walk in faith, so I definitely try to listen to my higher calling, my God,
Mhm.
and make sure that each day is lived with purpose and intent. And when family is not in balance, that will pretty much divert you if you're not careful.
Yeah,
So,
the family being in balance. I don't really believe in balance. I believe more so in harmony.
mhm,
Just because when you get a whole lot of instruments in the room, you go to the orchestra. More often than not, all of those instruments are playing a different tune, and they've got to find their groove. They've got to find their sweet spot. And once they do, then it allows them to create a melody that is just remarkable to hear. So I definitely get where you're coming from, and you are absolutely correct, because we all have encountered an amalgam of experiences over these last few years. And of course, if you're a person of color, we've experienced it for hundreds of years.
Yes.
So, which leads me to why I wanted to talk about the poverty mindset, or poverty, a level of poverty thinking. So let's talk a little bit about Onesimus first. Let's go back and talk about who you are, and tell us a little bit about your childhood.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm from a family of eight. Last boy, second to the last child. They keep treating me like I'm the baby of the family,
Oh,
and
okay.
she, the baby, will not allow it. So thank God for that.
Right.
And they laugh because they only say that because they think I'm spoiled, like I'm the brat.
Well,
And
are
as we get older, I tend to see more and more of that, right? Because I have different relationships with all other siblings, seven.
yeah.
So I'm grateful for that. I was born and raised in Nassau, Bahamas.
Mhm.
Certainly, if you know, the challenges in the Bahamas will certainly be different than the challenges here in the US. So, with scarcity there and scarcity here, there's a different kind of scarce.
It is.
So we certainly was raised in a single parent household with little access to resources, but through the grace of God and hard work and siblings growing up and taking care, pouring back into the family structure and taking care of the younger ones, we not only did well, we thrived, right? We
Yeah,
excelled.
exactly. So
So, go ahead.
no, I was just going to ask. So there's a you have a large family, and when you
Yeah.
have a large family, you have an array of thinking within that family. Of course, you'll have your parents that set and lay the foundation, but everybody will have their own way on how they think. What was that like, trying to navigate those waters for yourself to, identify who you are, discover more about who you are, and
Mhm.
what you'd like to do in the world?
But it was good on many levels. While you're living it, you're fighting. You're really fighting for survival and identity because you're at the bottom and you feel like nobody hears you, sees you. Your voice is not large enough or loud enough. You don't have a vote. You just exist, right?
Mhm.
So that's what you feel in the moment. And certainly there's a different responsibility as the last set of the children. The firstborn has a stronger calling on him and them to be able to support the parents and to lead and guide the family in the way that the parents would like to see their family live, right? So they have a stronger charge.
Yeah.
And, I pray for them all the time because they are the parent when the parent is not there. So
Yes.
imagine, you're probably 10 years older than all your siblings, but you're trying to be responsible for them and pretty much keep them on the straight and narrow. So their work is a lot more difficult than mine's would ever be. The middle kids are pretty much the balance, right? So they understand the mission and they're the connectors between the first three, the older ones.
Well, wait a
The
minute.
middle ones
Wait
connect the
a
bottom
minute.
ones.
That
Hmm?
that that might have been in your family. I mean, because the middle children there, there's a little grumbling out there about the middle child. So
Uh-huh.
you all may have had some commonality in your house where they got on board. They didn't really kick against the grain. And I'm an eldest in the family, so we the one of the older siblings definitely do carry a lot of the weight of the
Yeah.
family, I believe.
Yep.
And we also see things. I try to explain this to my kids sometime now, that we saw things that the younger children never saw.
Yes.
We're closest to the parent, and it is an experience that's not always very favorable, and it's not already always glowing with flowers and glistening, with oils.
Right.
It's not always the most beautiful picture. I'll put it that way, but I definitely
Right.
that it gives you a foundation of overcoming and establishing a greater level of grit that you probably wouldn't be able to find any other way.
Yeah,
So
because as the older ones, y'all are pretty much journeying this life story with the parents. While they're trying to figure it out,
exactly.
y'all are there trying to figure it out as well. They're trying to figure out how to parent, and you're watching them as they go through that journey and having to participate in that process alongside them. So the firstborns are like, man, you know, I'm sure I would have stepped into it if that was my position and family and role, but it wasn't.
Sure.
So I enjoyed where I was, and I just really, truly, yeah, I was embellished with all the fruits of their labor. So I respect them tremendously. There isn't anything that they wouldn't call me on or call me for that I would not make available or do. And they know it. And I try to pretty much stay in contact and talk to them pretty regularly and let
Yeah.
them know that we appreciated all the sacrifices that they made
Hmm.
so that we can be in the position that we're in life. So
Ever?
thank God all of them are still here, and we're enjoying each other and
Okay.
celebrating each other and just loving life.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Are they all living and are you all
Yeah,
scattered? And ever any sibling rivalry at all since we're talking about it?
of course, of course. There's one. It was a family of nine, right? But the one that passed, the boy after me, he passed at like age 5 with a hole in his heart, a heart defect. And certainly medical advances has improved to where they would have been able to close it in today's time, but back then it didn't exist,
Yeah.
not even in America, let alone the Bahamas. But so we lost him at a young age. So we still give him honor. His name was after him. So we still give him honor. But as far as the rivalries,
Mhm.
absolutely. We've identified the family in 3 segments. The
Oh, wow.
first three,
Okay.
boy, girl, girl, grew up mostly together, playing and interacting with each other.
Yeah.
Those are the legacies. The girl is now the matriarch because of the passing of the mom,
Hmm.
and it's funny because my brother didn't want it. The firstborn did not want it, and I'm like, bro, why are you giving up your robe? You don't give up your robe, I mean, you know. But the respect is still there for him, but she takes that lead role and she keeps the family cohesive and on target with what all we need to do. And if any of us are stepping out of line or out of accordance with our parents' desires,
Yes.
she is the first one to rein that in. So she's very vocal. She
Yeah.
doesn't cut corners. So she's very direct,
Love it.
and she addresses everything before it even becomes a problem. As far as every family is going to have that. You're going to be different. 8 different characters and 8 different personalities and 8 different ages. And when you find, I know as a child, I had 2 brothers. That the second group would be 2 boys.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
then the third group would
Okay.
be girl, boy, girl.
And that's the group you're in. You're in the last
Right. I'm in the third group.
one. Okay.
And we didn't have much but to live and perform and produce, right?
Yeah.
And I remember vividly when we were growing up, one of the boys in the second group wanted to exert his authority over the third group.
Mm-hmm.
And he would like to pick fights with me.
Uh-oh.
And it was funny because in doing so, the other brother, who was probably a year or two older than him,
Yeah.
challenged him and they fought it out. Like, why you want to fight this little dude? Fight me. You want to fight somebody? Fight me. So just things like that
Yeah.
as we were growing up. And ironically enough, that brother that always picked on me ended up being one of my biggest encouragers and supporters in life. He was the one that put me on the path of getting out of the streets, getting involved in idle mischief,
Okay.
and putting my skills and talents to track and field.
Now, I was just getting ready to wanted to switch gears into you being an athlete. This was your
Yeah,
brother that was in the group with you, the third group. Well, you all in together, but those.
2 girls. I'm in the third group of 2 girls.
Okay,
So
so
I'm cushioned between the older sister and the younger sister.
but your older
And the
brother.
brother before that sister is the one that introduced me to track and field.
Okay.
Formal. track and field. Because like with anything else, you had the street racing and the corner
Yeah.
challenges, like, oh, I'm faster than you. No, you're not. Let's go 1 lamp pole, 2 lamp pole, round the block,
Come
stuff
on,
like that.
catch me if you can, kind of thing. So, how
Yeah.
did he introduce you? Like, what I want to ask real quick before we move to your brother and you as an athlete. Your sister, is she the most like your mom? The one that's very direct, don't cut corners. Is she most like your mom?
All of us have that fabric,
Okay, good.
right? But yeah, she pretty much adopts that type of behavior and fabric even more.
Nice.
That strong, authoritarian, directive, you
Uh-huh.
know, yeah, the one that's responsible for Sunday dinners and will cook the meal from start to finish after she's done at church singing in the choir. Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah,
that's the one. Okay.
yeah. The other one's like, girl, you can have that. You can have that.
Can see it. I can see it. I got the picture.
Oh, you
With me.
be like, when's dinner again? When are we eating?
Exactly. So let's talk about your brother introducing you to track and field. Like, what was that like? Especially, in the Bahamas. So, what was
Mhm.
the experience for the initial introduction, and were you apprehensive about it? Because being an athlete is not easy. So, let's talk about that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's not easy. But what I do know, like when he first came and said how well he was doing in the sport,
Right.
I said, well, if you're doing that, I'll probably go out there and kill all of them. I'll annihilate all of them, right? And he was like, you think so? I'm like, I know so, right? And he's like, well, come on out, let's go. And I went out there, and without any training, I jumped in a track meet,
Yeah.
and it was a horrible experience.
Wow.
I was slaughtered on the track. It was so bad. So one of my friends of 40 years who also achieved great success in track, he
Okay.
was like, yeah, man, I remember you. You was always rolling under the bleachers crying about how painful it was.
I'm just still trying to picture in my mind that you're at a track meet
Uh-huh.
to support your brother, I presume, right? Is
No,
that
I went to race because I thought I was all that. And
right?
I got beat. I got beat so badly. I know I came last. I was last. I'm sure of that.
Wow.
And the pain from exerting that much physicality was
Yeah.
so strong till the cramping, the it wasn't even a pain of embarrassment. It was true physical pains.
Yeah.
And I was under like the bleachers, could not even get off of the ground. I was rolling easily 30 minutes before I could stand again.
Yeah.
And after a series of those, I said, well, I'm not giving up because you just don't punch me in the mouth and think I'm going away. I'll be back. And that's when I started inquiring about how do these guys get to the place where they could run a race,
Yeah.
what appeared to be full steam, and be walking afterwards. I just wanted to conquer that.
Right.
And in doing so, I learned, first of all, you have to be fit and conditioned. And
Yeah.
in order to do that, you have to run distance.
And that's so
So,
good because that's a really valuable lesson for us all in everything. Um,
yes.
the first thing I think about, because I am a woman of faith, which you know that, and
Hmm.
is you have to count up the cost. And all that getting understanding. You got to count up the cost. What's it going to cost you to do anything? Uh,
Hmm.
and so you get out there, and a lot of us have that same thing in life. We experience, we just jump out, leap. You might drown. You may not even come back, but you're
Yeah.
gonna, there you're just gonna jump out there without counting up the cost, or at least having some measure, some type of measure. And even if you don't have it, you've got to get with the people that do. So
Yes.
that means a trainer like your brother, who's a mentor. You got to
The
get connected
coaches
with people
and
that
mentors.
already that have already done it. They've already done it. They've already trained other people. So
Mhm.
I can imagine that. How long did it take you to recover from that? And what was your
And,
next step?
and it's funny that you say that, Camille, because the cost, when I examined the cost, it was a life saving change.
Mm,
So, you go on to college and you learn about opportunity cost. What are you giving up to get this?
yes,
Right?
yes,
Well, I was giving up bumming and hanging out around the street corner and drinking alcohol to get a fit, strong, conditioned body.
yeah, yeah,
So whether I rose to the level that I eventually did or not, I switched behaviors and habits.
Yeah.
And in order to do that, I had to switch my mental.
There it is. Okay.
You
And
you you you,
that's
you see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So now to have that discipline to say, I'm not drinking anymore. I'm going for a 2 and a 3 mile run, still hanging out with my friends and my boys in the streets and on the corner. But no, I'm not going to tip the bottle.
Yeah.
When y'all tip, I'm going on a 3 mile run.
Okay.
And to be able to make that mental shift, to be
Yeah.
able to do this. And then when I go back to attract me, I can see the positive outcomes because now, 3 to 6 months later, I'm still getting beat, but I'm walking away from the race. I'm
Mhm.
not under the bleachers. I'm not filled with dirt and grass crying no more. I'm
Yes.
walking away. So then the standard and the goal changes now, right? Now that I'm fit and strong enough, I've exercised these muscles mentally and physically,
Mhm.
now set some goals.
Yeah.
And the goals was now to make the finals.
Okay.
So I'm enduring all this pain and suffering. I'm
Yeah.
not even in the finals. Okay. That's just heat.
Like the prelim first.
Right, right. So when I made my first final, you would have thought I won a gold medal at the Olympics. Okay, girl, I was the bomb. You could talk to me. I took time off. I was like, yeah, buddy, I'm in the top 8. I'm making finals, right? And
Okay.
then after a series of coming last in the finals and feeling that pain again,
Right.
then you make adjustments.
Yeah.
So instead of running 2 and 3 miles a night, you run 5 miles a night so you don't feel that pain when you compete with this level of
Yeah.
athletes and performance.
Exactly. So when you talk about changing the mental, I love that because I'm actually reading a book right now about the mental cleaning up your mental mess. And
Ah,
when you think about that change for you at that time, where you say, okay, I gotta change the way I think about this, because I know it was possible because I can see people that I even have that are at arm's length that are doing it. So
mhm.
with that, okay, so you start running 5 miles. So when do we start to progress and when do we start to place? How long does it take for you to place? Then I want to talk about how you compete through high school and what your transition was like, or how did you find yourself in Arizona? I know, yeah. How did you find yourself in
Okay.
Arizona? Mhm.
So the interesting thing there is once I started making finals,
Yeah,
then you set more goals.
right.
So now you not only want a final, you want a place in the finals.
Yes, exactly.
So you want to be top 3 because you want to be on that award stand.
Correct.
Right? So
Yeah.
now you start making training adjustments, sleeping adjustments, eating adjustments, right? To put yourself in the best position to place, if not win the race. Baby steps, psychologists would call it.
Yeah.
And sooner than later, I'm not 8th anymore, I'm 4th and
Okay.
5th.
That's good progress.
Very good progress.
Hmm.
And everyone is like, who is this kid? Where did he come from?
Yeah.
Because in competition in the Bahamas back then, for you in a 400-meter race to be in the top 4, you were making noise. You were pretty good. Those guys were pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah.
You see, so
Yeah.
to finish in the top 4 at that stage and no real track exposure and experience, I remember, I believe, for me, I was running about 52 seconds then.
Yeah.
And the guys that were beating me were running about 50 point seconds.
So what is that? 52 seconds per mile?
No, for a quarter of a mile,
Oh wow.
for one lap, for one lap,
One lap. Mm-hmm.
right?
Wow.
So when you sit back and you look at it, you'd be like, oh my goodness. Someone from the Bahamas calling.
That's pretty
I'll
fast.
catch that later. And it's just amazing because now the year is over.
Mm-hmm.
So an entire year goes by. My first introduction to track, I'm rolling under the bleachers crying. And by the end of the year, I'm making finals and finishing top 4.
Okay.
Right. And
Right.
I said, listen, next year, This person that you see today will not be the person you meet next year. Next year, I am running sub 50 seconds in the 400 meters.
I love that.
And they felt like that's a far reach because the best of the best high school performers have a difficult time dropping below 50 seconds.
Yeah, and so that right there, though, you really so you set a goal, but then you took it a step further by making a declaration of what will not be moving forward. So you are
Exactly.
already setting yourself up for a level of success, and also you're making a public declaration. So that means you're going to have to do the work. So let's talk
Exactly.
about, okay, so you move forward, you matriculate through high school. Let's talk about your senior year and what transitions you to Arizona.
Now hear this, and hear me clearly. To make that declaration, I had a conversation with God on the track.
Okay. And
And
what
I said,
what
someone is adamant about reaching me from the Bahamas.
what did God
And I said, Lord, I remember this prayer vividly. I said, Lord, this is the second prayer I personally prayed to the Lord.
mm,
The first one was, Lord, let this cup pass from me. That's a different topic.
yeah.
The second prayer I prayed, that was at age 12. This was at age 16. I said, Lord, if you were to ever elevate me to certain levels of success in track and field that our dominant collegiate athletes were experiencing in the US, I said, I will always have time for your people.
Mm,
Even in preparation, even in walking into meet conditions, I will always speak to your people. I will always have time.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And believe it or not, my career like just took off. And in a matter of 2 to 3 years, I was certainly probably top five in the nation
Wow.
amongst local and collegiate athletes for the Bahamas, which was huge. At
Mm-hmm.
that time, we had kids in college running 45 and 46 seconds in the quarter mile. I'm
Yeah.
at home. And this is from a young boy who never ran high school track. I graduated high school without one performance in high school track.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And everybody's like, who is this kid and where did he come from? And how come he didn't represent his high school?
So wait a minute. So you placed that high to that level or to that magnitude in junior high school?
No, after high school.
Oh, okay. After high school.
I
Okay.
graduated at age
Wow.
16.
Okay.
So that provided me 3 more years of being able to compete
Mm-hmm.
on the junior national level if I
Right.
made the team
Okay.
to travel internationally and compete under the flag and the banner of the Bahamas.
So were you
So,
trained like a traveling team,
yes,
like AAU kind of thing? I don't know what they would call it in.
it's even bigger than that because those teams you met other countries, the best in
Yeah.
other countries.
Okay.
So it would have been putting you on the path to go to the Olympics eventually.
Right. Okay.
So when you made the junior national teams, you'll be competing against Mexico, Jamaica, Cuba, U.S.,
Yes.
Britain, name it, Brazil, Germany. You'll be competing against their junior athletes
Mm-hmm.
that are 19 and younger,
Wonderful.
right?
Yes. Yes.
So to get to that level of success without any high school performance or training
Right.
was just tremendous. And I give all the glory to God. It was truly His plan, and He did that.
And that's huge. That's pretty impressive because
Huge
that doesn't happen. I mean that already places you in a different space,
bracket.
already
Hmm.
in a whole different category than others. I mean, not only metaphorically, but I mean also physically because of
Physically, yeah.
what you've been able to overcome, what you've been able
And
to
and I promise you, in that second year, I not only opened the season with a 49-second quarter mile, which was stunning. It stunned me. The
yeah.
first race, and I looked up at the clock, it had, I think, like 49.1 second,
Yeah.
almost 48 seconds.
Hmm.
That would have been about 3 to 4 second shift in my performance.
Nice.
I last left at 52 point, opened the season with 49.1. By time as they reviewed and rolled the tape to an official electronic time, it ended up being 49.9. I
Yeah.
think they cheated me on that. It should have stayed at 49.1 because I dipped into 48 seconds that year. And in the third year, I was running 47 seconds, got a scholarship offer to study and compete in the US. And I pondered on that. I labored on it. And I asked a family friend that was a great high school athlete in track, basketball, and baseball, would you go? Would you do it differently? He's like, heck yeah, get off of this island. Go and test your skills and ability and get that training from U.S. coaches. And I
Okay.
took it, and I went to a
So
junior college.
how did you
Mhm.
find? Did you go do junior college in Bahamas,
Texas,
or you did junior college here in the U.S.?
Texas.
In Texas. Okay, so you were there 2 years. Junior
Hmm. And I
college.
specifically chose Texas because it was a very competitive state for track and field. Texas, Florida, California.
And
And I
that was
wanted to be in that heat.
when
I
was that? That
wanted
was
to
in the
feel it.
80s, right? Back in the
Hmm?
80s. That
Huh?
was in the 80s, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
early 80s.
So you go to Texas, you compete, you make place, you do very well. How do you transition to Arizona? Because you went to ASU, and that was no easy feat to be able to come there and actually compete. How were you able to do that?
Yeah, yeah. So what ended up happening, I had a storied, all my life seemed to be a story, man. But while at junior college, doing very well, one of the nation's best at the junior college level, competing against some of the best at junior college,
Hmm.
I ran into an incident with the coach wherein he sent me home from the national meet, pulled my scholarship, which meant you out of school, and sent me back home.
Okay.
So I lost my scholarship and ability to compete. So while at home, I'm still training, and that same brother that pretty much supported me throughout this whole journey, he was an athlete as well, and he made the national team. We made some together
Hmm.
on the senior side. I was a
Yeah.
junior athlete, made the senior national team, and he said, "What are you going to do?" And I said, well, I got to complete. I had to finish because that's what I left here saying. I
Yeah.
will be a part of a generation that go to college and complete it and get our degrees, meaningful degrees. And the universities just don't get out of us what they need, and we don't get nothing in return.
That's the truth right
So
there.
I was a
I love
part of
that.
that generation of athletes from the Bahamas saying, if we go, we're going to graduate. My study, field of study at the time was accounting, right?
Right, exactly.
Just in
But
case.
I want to ask one quick question. Like, where did that thinking, where did that mindset come from?
Well, when we look back at the careers of the 80s, there were standard careers that brought value to the
Hmm.
family, community, and stature,
Okay.
right? So,
Yeah.
doctors, of course, lawyers, of course, firefighters, police,
Jesus.
um, accounting in the financial industry was
Yeah.
one of those type of jobs. And I said to myself, I'm going to be rich. You're going to be rich. You're going to get that world record.
Okay.
God, that's God's promise to you. And when you get it, $1 million is coming with that world record. And you need to know what your financial people and your money people
Yeah.
is doing with your money.
Where
So
will
when
take
you
your
get in
money?
those meetings, you want to
Exactly.
understand it.
Right.
So what's the best way to do it? Study accounting. And
Hmm.
that's why I studied accounting. So I can understand my money managers and financial
Yeah.
people and everyone that I put in that role to help me manage my career.
Exactly.
That was the plan. Now, I didn't get to the Olympics. I did not get the world record, and I had to eat off of that education.
Hmm.
And what a good education that was
Yeah.
because it safely propelled my career on an upward trajectory for over 20 some years just with a bachelor's degree in accounting back in the 80s.
Yeah, yeah, that's powerful.
Yeah,
So I love that. The reason why I asked that because I was trying to see if that was more of a family agreement, if you will, with you transitioning to the U.S. And I love that you had something specific in mind of what you wanted back from them, from the
yeah.
university anyway. So you go to ASU, you
U
perform
of A.
outside.
There's only one university in Arizona, the University of Arizona. Only one. Only one.
I'm not going to debate that with you. I'm not.
Edit,
Okay. So
cut that part out.
I'm gonna cut that out. Look, no, I might leave it in. It's okay because we love all parts of Arizona. Yeah,
O- Only
yeah.
one university in Arizona,
I'm gonna
man.
leave that alone. I'm gonna leave that
We
alone.
we still trying to make ASU a college.
Listen, listen.
They're a normal school.
No comment. So let's talk about U of A. You get to U of A, and you create some wonderful relationships. I know you've met some wonderful people there and
Yes.
cultivated dynamic relationships and connections. Because I do view you as a connector. You are a person that is very present, and I want to definitely talk a few minutes about politics before we end tonight. But before we do that,
Mhm.
let's talk briefly about your experience at U of A. And while you were at U of A, what are some of the things that you did in terms of connecting with other brothers and fostering mighty relationships that would carry you into today?
Yeah. So that was good because when I went to U of A, I came in from Texas via the Bahamas, right?
Hmm.
And the reason I ended up at the U of A was before my track career was interrupted at nationals, I had quite a bit of offers from for quality 4-year competitive schools, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And once I got back in, a lot of those coaches knew that I was back on campus. I was training, everything was still going well for me. And I said to them, whoever get the scholarship documents worked out first, that's where I will go. And I need for you to be willing to petition the NCAA to reinstate the year that I lost by being home in the Bahamas.
Okay.
And University of Arizona uh, did that in record time. I think they had all the paperwork and the scholarship ironed out in probably 2 to 4 weeks, and I had to fulfill that obligation. I made that work, and I figured all the schools that were in pursuit were quality schools. I liked the university because it was in the Pac-10 conference,
Hmm.
which was not California, but we competed against California schools, USC, UCLA,
Right.
etc.
Exactly.
So I felt like it would have been hot enough, competitive enough for me to continue to progress on
Yeah.
my path to Olympic success. So I came, and when I got on campus, being that far from home, not knowing anybody like everybody else, I sought out fraternity, Kappa Alpha Psi, for the brotherhood and the camaraderie, and to be a part of an organization that I can lay my hat and trust
Hmm.
that these individuals, members, would treat me like the brothers I had at home.
Hmm.
So I joined that organization while competing that year. And out of it, I made some very strong relationships, one of which, I'm still in contact with all of them today, but my very best friend, Kenny Lofton, was on the same pledge line as I. So
Okay.
we bonded in that regard. And once that was done, we bonded in the fraternal work. And then we bonded as athletes because I would see him in McHale
Is that
Center.
Kenny Lofton, the baseball player?
Yeah, the basketball turned baseball player. Yup.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep,
That's
that Kenny Lofton.
didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. And of course we were close. We were brothers, and line brothers bring you even that much closer because you go through the trenches of pledging together. You
Hmm.
see everyone's strength, weaknesses, and complement each other.
Hmm.
That's what they teach us through the process. And as we mature, we started training together. He training to try and crack through in the Major League Baseball. I'm training to try and make it to
Right.
the Olympics.
Hmm.
And for many years, we would train 6, 7 days a week. We would
Wow.
go to church even, and after church have dinner, and then go to the weight room on Sunday nights, right? So
Okay.
we were committed to being our best selves, not only in person,
Hmm.
but also in our craft and our skills in sports. And we realized that when the sports was done, those same characteristics and attributes would transfer into our everyday life and our career, whether as entrepreneurs or as employees. And
Yeah.
it did. It does.
Yeah.
Right?
I think that's mighty that you made the declaration on what you were hoping for from God. You asked God and He answered. He made it clear to you on how to navigate those waters, how to begin to propel forward. What I want to do now is just switch gears around how you were able to transcend from you utilizing that athleticism and realizing you weren't going to accomplish that goal that you wanted when it came to the Olympics, but you were
Mhm.
able to transition that into politics. I want to know what that shift was like.
Okay. So over the years, when I realized, I think I competed up until I was 36 years old, pursuing that dream of going to the Olympics and trying to get that world record. And when I decided I was going to put it down, by then I was also in my career in accounting as a university administrator, starting with the University of Arizona and then ending up here at ASU.
Okay.
So I had a pretty storied career as an accountant in the controller's office, then as a business manager, starting with the university libraries, then the graduate college, and then up here at ASU as assistant director for the School of Earth and Space Exploration. So, I was working while training, while supporting my friend, because by then he had cracked through in Major League Baseball, and having a family. And I realized that those were four heavy areas of lifting, and track had to be the first one off of the table. So I went forward and lived the great life that God had created for me, and just enjoyed life for those period of time, probably over 15, 16, 20 years, however long it was. Now, fast forward, I'm sitting here and I'm in Phoenix now.
Yeah.
And I'm living in a district that was predominantly electing African American officials for the state senate, for the rep. Senator Landrum Taylor Clovis as House Rep, Mike Johnson as City Council, Cody as Justice of the Peace. And then I see where that district is now being overran by political leaders that were non-Black. And I think it was specifically targeted as such because the community was shifting. And there were more Hispanics and more whites moving into that district than Blacks.
Yeah.
So rather than us having a seat at the table and working collectively as a community to make sure the Black voice had a say in the direction of Phoenix and the city of Phoenix, I started noticing it shrinking to the point where we didn't have any elected officials representing us in any capacity. I think Reginald Boulding at that time finally broke through and became a House Rep. But everything that we knew to have a voice in policy making and politics had pretty much evaporated. So when the seat turned, I got up and said, don't complain about it, be about it. That's how we live, right? And I put my name in for the opportunity to represent the community through appointment. That did not go. I think it was probably 11 Black men that had asked for the appointment, and that one of us got selected. Not even the previous councilman that served the community, he did not even get the appointment. So we decided to run, and that's how I got engaged.
So what I want you to do is I want you to tell our listening audience, those that are here in Arizona and even outside of Arizona, what it is that people of color can do when it comes to really getting involved with politics and how they can truly make a difference in their communities and in their municipalities.
Okay. And here's what I learned from that experience by running. I did not have the bandwidth, nor did I have the political relationships to be successfully elected. And I had to learn that. So I pulled back and I started offering my help as a volunteer to candidates in working that campaign, from the field part to sitting at meetings and listening to strategies and work plans. Started with Mike Johnson, and then I had the opportunity to represent a candidate as a manager of their campaign, and more recently another manager for a senator that got elected, and then a volunteer field for an African American lady that got elected to Phoenix City Council. So going through that process, I tend to learn what is needed. First, I would encourage everyone to get out there and volunteer for a candidate that they like and would like to see elected in office, that shares the same values, principles, and beliefs that you may have. Volunteer for that campaign because they need the work. They need the work to be done. It'll be a big help. And if you aspire to run for office, just ask if you could be included in different aspects of their campaign, like the strategy meetings, like the planning, the data set, the evaluation, and the field work. That's vitally important. So get out there, get active, get involved. Here in America, you have what's called party positions as well. So you can become an elected official as a precinct committee person, call a PC. Go ahead and get with your local chapter or local organization for your area. Register as a PC. Learn what it is that can be done from the party level. Get involved in your party. Run for office to be in leadership roles and making decisions on which sectors of the voting community you're going to seek to bring into the party vote, what the messaging will be for any particular election cycle, because it changes. Officers are reelected every 2 years at the state legislative level and at the city council level every 4 years. And a lot changes in society and economics in those 2 and 4 year cycles. So get up, get active,
Right.
get involved and participate. That would be a good starting point.
Okay. I think that's fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Mhm.
I want to just ask you one last question before we wrap up. We are definitely not out of message, but we are certainly out of time. So I
Right.
want to ask you this question I ask everyone, and that is, what is the lesson that took you the longest to learn?
Um, my longest lesson is understanding God, having a relationship with God, and how He is involved in our everyday lives
Everything.
through spirit and in truth.
Mhm.
And that has been a journey for all my life, right? From first being introduced in Bible study, right?
Mhm.
And then taking that role on for yourself after you confirm your
Yeah.
commitment to a godly life at age 12,
Mhm.
and then having to walk it out and live it out. So, reading the Word of God and putting enough knowledge about the Word of God in your heart and in your mind
Mhm.
so that anything you encounter is an easy decision for you to make
Perfect.
was one of the longest. It's
Mm.
a lifetime.
Yeah.
And you know, things are still revealing itself to me, simple things
Yes.
about God's presence in our lives
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
His role in our lives.
Yeah.
It's still revealing itself to me even a week, 2, 3 weeks ago. I was like, oh my God, I finally get it.
Mm.
Now I understand this. Now I understand that.
Yeah.
And it's simple, right?
Yep.
So truly that has been lifelong learning. In in the natural sense, and just walking the planet, one, I will go back and say, you know, I'm getting closer and even closer to God based on the
Yeah.
family challenges that push me in
Yeah.
faith to
That's
trust and believe in Him,
that's
right?
it. That's it
You,
right there.
you, you see what I'm saying? So
That's
I say my kids have been the strongest influences in building and strengthening my relationship with my Father in heaven
yeah.
as they try to do their Father here on earth. I'm
Right.
learning more through that. But as far as in the natural, um, you know, lifelong lessons, certainly I committed 15 years of a young child to athletic preparation and performance,
Yeah.
and that right there, those elements that I established and learned through that process, I was able to transfer into
Yeah.
everyday life
Yeah.
as a working young adult. So there's some elements I call competitive elements
Yes. That's
that
good.
pretty much transcend both the athletic and the work side of life.
Absolutely. So
And
listen,
that has been a learning experience.
that is powerful. So I need you to tell the audience very quickly where they can find you because we are out of time. So where can they find you and stay connected?
Contact Camille Nash. She has a hotline.
No, don't believe that. He hasn't. No, no, no. He hasn't retained me as PR. No, no, no. You all can see where to find him right there. No,
Girl, just
joking
really, truly, I'm easy to find. Hit me up on Facebook, Instagram, social media right now is the best place to go. I do not have an established website. I probably will eventually do so
Yes,
because
sir.
I have 3 books that I'm charged to get written.
Okay.
2 should have been completed before the end of this year, and a third one being developed. So I promise you, I will get them all out
You're gonna keep us
in
on.
2024 in
Yeah.
the first quarter to first half of 2024. I had to recommit and rediscipline myself. But those are projects that I promised God I would do from the age of 16. So I got to get them done.
You got to get them done. All right. Yeah. Well, I thank you. I do thank you for carving out the time to hang out in the bullpen and to keep straight with us. We will definitely stay connected. You all go out there and, follow Onesimus, especially if you're here in the Valley, so you can stay connected, so we can continue to turn up the volume and make a lot of noise, especially as a person.
Can I add this, Camille?
30 seconds. We got 30 seconds.
Okay. I would like for us to revisit the initial topic that we were talking about, poverty as a mindset, because I went and I prepared for it and I have some good stuff to share.
So we're going to have to do a part 2 then.
Yes, absolutely. Have me back because I want to talk a little bit about that.
Okay, we'll talk more about it. Now that you all have heard a lot about his history and what he had to do to shift his mind, we will certainly look at doing a part 2 with him. And we do thank you.
Let's address poverty.
Yeah,
and poverty as a mindset.
All right, very well. Well, we thank you. Listen, I know, y'all. I know you probably wanted to continue to hear him. I know, but things happen sometime, and we're just out of time. Here's my wealth theory for today, very quickly. I think we might do a part 2. Maybe we will. I gotta move Onesimus along, but we might do a part 2. That being said, what I want to say today is, this is all about changing the mindset, changing from a poverty mindset, and I'm staying in this theme until we rock out the rest of this year as the power of Black excellence. And I just want to remind you that it's important that you change your thinking. You got to change the way you think in order to change the way what you see and the way that you actually live your life. And it's going to require you to clean out the clutter and get out of that mess out of your mind and out of your thinking, so that you can see and live a life that's unrecognizable. And you're going to need some training. You all heard him. He just jumped out there, and he had to actually pay the price for not being fully trained and or counting up the cost. So that's my encouragement to us tonight, is to make sure that we count the cost for everything. And I do mean in every area of our life that we're looking to ascertain. Be clear about what that's going to cost you. And that's going to do it for tonight's message, or for tonight's episode. I want to remind you, please be sure to go on over to the Bullpen Show Facebook group and get connected, so that you don't stay disconnected, and let this voyage continue to begin. And I will see you in the very next episode of the Bullpen. Good night.